everybody. It is Sunday, February 4th, 2023. I can't believe it's already February. 2023.
Yes.
And you are listening to Black Box Signal, a podcast on the internet about video games. I am your host, Chase Johnson, as always, and I am joined by my co-host, Brandon Gaston. What's going on?
How's it going, people?
It's been a week.
Yeah. Certainly has.
So my kid's finally better. I think on the first two episodes we were talking about how Dexter was sick, and now he's finally better. But then he decided to keep me up all night, so I'm running on zero sleep right now and a lot of caffeine. So should make for a great episode.
Classic little kids for you, man. You know.
Right. What you been getting into?
Dude, this week has been a big week for the Tactics Ogre. I have much to report on for a lot of people. So, spoiler alert, not really spoiler alert, but for people that have been following on the stream, I deleted the stream playthrough and went back through and got us back up to where we are. So I will be planning on streaming either sometime this week or this coming weekend to continue the storyline. So come to find out, one of the characters you can recruit I killed on accident, so I wanted to go back and make sure that we could get said character. So but it's cool, man. Just this time around it's been a little bit more enjoyable, just understanding more of the mechanics of the game. You know, how the whole rock, paper, scissors mechanic that we usually refer to in games like this. In this, it would be the spells. So fire beats ice, ice beats earth, earth beats wind, blah, 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 blah. Knowing how all that kind of stuff works and stuff makes things not so much where you want to just beat your head into the monitor. So that's been pretty fun. I've been enjoying that. Things to note about that game, though, like oversights, like I've noticed certain classes tend to fall off in that game after a while. Like fighters, that you get them in the beginning, absolutely rubbish. They don't do anything for me anymore. Your clerics, which are supposed to be your designated healing class, like I don't even use those anymore because why?
Right.
I've got healing, like items in that game are such a huge deal that like people for me and you that hoard everything was a real hard concept.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. This is a rare item. That's what it says on the tooltip. So don't ever use it. No. You may want to save it for later. No.
Yeah.
Don't ever use it. Got it.
You know what Pro ZD song one, those videos that I send you sometime?
Yeah.
He's got one that's like gets the end of the game and then he's like, but I still have 435 of these.
Yeah. Facts. Exactly. So yeah, definitely like don't do that in this game. Like items are a huge thing in this game. It's not even just like healing or reviving items, right? They have all sorts of stuff like items to temporarily buff your stats in battle, or the big one is when you get to like actual, like what they would consider like a boss fight, right? And you know it is because your target starts with 4 of the card buffs on them. So they hit like a truck. They can pretty much use a finishing move on you every other turn to deal, big dick damage. And it's so, having those items where you can like lower their attack stat or their defense stat, it's huge. It's a game changer. And
Right.
has really been making the playthrough a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable. So yeah, definitely people, if you do decide to pick it up, don't sleep on the items. Like spend your money, dude. Like you'll make more money. Trust me. Like it's not an issue. Like just buy the items and use them, man. Because eventually, the clerics, they're not even useful anymore because I can just put healing items on my characters and they can just heal each other for way more than a cleric's gonna heal me. And instead of taking away a damaging slot by putting a cleric in there that does no damage, I can put another damage dealer and increase my DPS. Or for people that don't know, that term means damage per second. So
come on, I think people know that. Okay, maybe I shouldn't assume that.
I don't want to assume, but yeah. So I mean, ultimately increase your DPS by taking out, one or two healers to put in more DPS and just give them healing items, at
Right.
the end of the day. The recruiting, I slept on a lot originally, and that's pretty cool. You can get dragons and stuff, and other various beasts, griffins. What else did I get? Oh, a cockatrice, which can petrify people and stuff. So yeah, it's been pretty interesting. That's been a lot of what I've been doing this week/weekend is um, playing that and just kind of learning new stuff. So I'm excited to pick the story back up from where we left off on stream and see where the rest of that goes too. So that'll be definitely cool. Um, Other than that, not really a whole lot. I did watch Last of Us, obviously, and I know that you watched it.
Oh yeah, we were gonna get into
So
that.
I'm curious to know your thoughts on that, as because we didn't even get a chance to even discuss it really at all this week. Because I watched it before you did, but you just finished it.
Yeah, I literally just finished it this morning. We watched like the first 20 minutes of it, and I will just let y'all know. We'll try to keep this section a little short, so if you don't want to hear spoilers for the show, skip ahead a few minutes. Maybe I'll put a time code in the description. But we watched up to the piano scene and then
Uh,
got caught up with a bunch of stuff, and then we watched the rest of it today. And I really enjoyed this episode. I
I did
I
too.
I did too. I know they made some changes.
Oh yeah.
Like I'll be vague here so it's not a bad spoiler, but like a certain character dies that doesn't die in the game. But I think the way that they wrote it was really well done. And I
Mhm.
felt like it made for a way more powerful episode. I mean, last week when you said that episode 2 sold you, I wouldn't say that this episode completely sold me, but it definitely made me be like, okay, now now I'm kind of because they got the
Yeah,
writing chops.
intrigued now. Yeah,
Mhm.
you're intrigued now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the same thing too. I mean, I watched it and obviously they did change some stuff, like you said. A certain character dies that doesn't die in the game. And actually, on the flip side, a certain character in the game that was dead in the game is alive for a time
Hmm.
in this episode as well. So it was interesting. I mean, it is kind of a big change as far as the story goes. But I'm with you. I think they did it very tactfully and just very well done. Obviously, the actor selection for said character got killed. Spot on.
I think
He
that
did. So,
I think what we've been saying the whole time that I feel like so far they've knocked every actor that they have chose or
has
actress
been
they have
good.
chose has been
Mhm.
great. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So yeah, this definitely it was not really heavy on action or anything, but really none of the episodes have really been super action heavy. And you know what? I'm fine with that. I'm one of those people that I don't necessarily believe more action or more killing or more boom boom boom, makes it better. Not necessarily. Like I've watched some shows where there's literally no action at all. It's mostly just story and dialogue, and I really loved them and enjoyed them. So yeah,
Well,
I
and
liked it.
when you have those quiet moments, it makes the big bombastic moments seem more big and bombastic.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
and the
and this
game
really
was
gives
like that.
you.
The game had a lot of those sections where you're just exploring.
Mhm.
You're not fighting at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
So I feel like to do that in a show, you can't really just show people exploring the whole time. So you're gonna have to have these episodes that are a little bit slowed down where you get some character development.
Sure. Yeah. Well, yeah, and it really gives you that peek into your humanity almost, right, during this kind of apocalypse style setting, and how certain people have been dealing with it and stuff, you either become like a monster tyrant kind of person, or and give up essentially your humanity, or there are other people like this that try to find some hint of a life inside this world that everybody's forced to live in. Yeah, I
Right.
absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. fantastic.
Yep, yep, really well done. It's got me really excited for episode 4 tonight, which drops tonight. So
For sure.
that'll be cool to watch. And then I see in the notes here, you just wrote down boss fights.
Oh man,
What the
yes.
fuck's that about?
So, actually, I really should have put that before us discussing Last of Us because I could have segued in from Tactics Ogre probably. But okay, so I just want to take a moment to discuss boss fights with you briefly for a little bit. So, boss fights for me, obviously, in a game are like some of the big key points, right? So, like, for example, like in Tactics Ogre, the big one so far for me has been the Hector fight, which I did do this morning off stream. So spoilers for everybody that watched the stream, you're not going to get to see it. But he just straight decimated me on stream the first time I played him. This time around, he got fucked on pretty hard because I was a lot more prepared. But boss fights, I love boss fights, and like you can love them for different reasons, right? It's grueling hard, or on the flip side, there have been some boss fights where it's a total joke. It's a pushover fight, but I absolutely freaking love it to death. I mean, I don't know about you, but like sometimes they're like that. One of the big ones for me that I can think of is a game that me and you both played, Elden Ring. One of the optional bosses you can fight in that is called Melania.
Oh, did I
What is
fight
it?
that one?
I
I
don't know
never
if you
finished
did,
it,
but it's
so
like Melania Hand of the King or something like that. Anyways, that boss fight, like I died probably about 500 times on that boss fight, like to the point where like I'm pretty sure I almost snapped my PS5 controller in half. Like, I mean, I've never been so pissed in my life like I was in that fight. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I absolutely loved it because it's so well scripted, right? The cutscene when you walk in and introduces you to the boss is phenomenal. The boss fight itself, I mean, it's hard. It's a grueling, drag out fight, but totally fun. And then spoilers for anybody that hasn't played Elden Ring, but when you kill her, you don't actually kill her because then there's another cutscene, and then it's a two-phase fight, and you have to fight her a second time. But they have like a kind of a small cutscene in between the two fights, and that's dude cinematically so good. It's like that like this is the classic Dragon Ball Z meme. This isn't even my final form, and
right.
like she transforms essentially, bro, and like dude, like it gets like downright even harder after that. So, but I mean, I don't know about you, but yeah, that's just to me is just something I wanted to touch on with our viewers slash listeners. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like boss fights to me have been amazing, and I just wanted to kind of bring up a couple that really stand in my mind. So that one for sure, um, the Johnny fight from Super Mario RPG. Legend of the Seven Stars on the SNES was another one. As a kid playing that, was like one of those like, all right, the game's real moment. This is what I would call like the moment where a game checks you, right?
Mhm.
Like you're cruising along, you're like, oh yeah, I'm doing good, I'm getting these items, and it's that reality check from the game that's like, all right, well, let me put you back into your place real quick.
Right. The one that I think of that kind of reminds me of that for mine, because I brought a couple too. Um, and this is gonna sound funny, but I played it at 13, so you can't, or 13 or 14, so you can't get after me. Like how I got into Kingdom Hearts was that it was actually a game my sister got, and I was mad because I was like, "Where's the next Final Fantasy? What's this Disney crap?" But then she got stuck, and then I started playing it, and was like, "Hey, the writing in this is not too bad." And I know Kingdom Hearts is divisive. I'm a fan. Sue me. But I remember getting. It's like, "Oh, the writing's not bad. The voice acting's pretty good." And then I think I got to the boss fight on the Tarzan world where you fight this chameleon, this giant heartless chameleon, and that was the
Oh
first
yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That was
yeah.
the first time that I was like, "Oh, I wasn't expecting this Disney kid game to like check me into a wall all of a sudden." I eventually made it
Yeah.
through that. I eventually made it through that boss fight, but that was one that did that. And then later in that same game, when you fight Ansem in his first form, I'm not gonna say spoilers for a 20-year-old game, 20 plus year old game. When you fight Ansem in his first form, that one checked me for the first time. I remember being stuck on it for a little bit. Again, 13, 14 years old, but like just getting hung up on that one. And that was actually that Tarzan fight is what sold me on Kingdom Hearts, because then I was like, oh, okay, this isn't just some like it is kidified Final Fantasy, but it still challenges you, I guess is what I would say.
Fun. I felt the same way, honestly, when I played it. I was probably about the same age as you. And I remember I was thinking the same thing, right? Like, oh, this is like a kiddie game or whatever. And I think I made it to after the Tarzan world, and then I had to return it back to the game store or whatever. But yeah, that's it sold me on it. I've played a couple of them. I've never beaten any of them, but I know that you have for sure.
Yeah.
And I remember that fight with the chameleon. That was something else.
Yeah, it was the chameleon and Clayton from Tarzan, the dude, the bad guy in the Tarzan was riding it or whatever, and like shooting at you while trying to like fight this chameleon that kept turning invisible, and you couldn't lock onto it anymore.
Oh.
Yep. And then do you got any other boss fights you want to mention? Because I've got one for the end that or multiple for the end. Yeah.
So another good one is also from Super Mario RPG. I'm not gonna say spoilers because same thing with you. It was like a 20-some-year-old game, but an alternate boss fight in there is a Final Fantasy reference. You can go through this little thing. You get this key. You unlock this door in Monster Town, and it's the Culex fight, where you fight Culex from Final Fantasy, and it plays the dude. It's got the Final Fantasy music in the Super Mario world. It's just a slapper. I love it. It's not, to me, I didn't really find it particularly super challenging, but it's one of those ones I just enjoyed it because it's a cool reference in that game that like shouldn't be there. Like you go through this door and you're in an alternate reality, and Culex is there, and he's got like these 4 crystals. Each one's a different element that casts spells on you and stuff. And like I said, to me, I didn't find it to be particularly a hard fight, but it's one of those ones, like I said, like it's not hard, but I love it because it's cool. It's like a cool little Easter egg in there that I really, really, really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
So the last one that I'll bring is like an entire game. And it's actually my representation of bad boss fights. And you might not agree with me, but the entirety of Vanilla Destiny, all of it, like all of it is bad boss fights. Like until the Taken King came out, we can go into whether or not Vanilla Destiny was a good game or not, but until the Taken King, that entire game was garbage, and the boss fights were fucking boring as hell.
No.
Yes.
I will hard disagree with you because Taken King was bullshit because that raid was cheese mode. You could cheese half the bosses.
Oh, well, I guess you hate bad writing, or I guess you hate good writing because they actually finally put a fucking story in the game. You know me, that's the other thing, you know me, narrative driven, so like you have to admit Taken King finally put the fucking story into Destiny.
All right. I will give you that. It had a better story.
But we're talking
like,
boss fights.
As far as like boss fights go, like so if you're like basically you're comparing one raid to the other, I would give the vanilla raid an edge out just because I thought the boss fights were a little bit better versus like doing like Crota and stuff. You could cheese that shit. Plus they put Gallahorn in, and Gallahorn was just fucking made that game so dumb anyways.
No, that first raid was okay. That second raid, House of Wolves, was better. No. The first one wasn't the first one. Vault of Glass. I can't remember.
Glass, yeah.
That one fucking sucked. House of Wolves was a hair better, and then when Taken King came out, they finally got together. They got it together.
You're like that dude that likes Terminator 3, bro. Get out of here. Get out of here.
No, absolutely not. Terminator 1. If we're but no, I agree to disagree, but yeah, all of Vanilla Destiny, every boss fight was forgettable. It was boring. It was very forgettable.
Oh man.
Very forgettable.
Oh man.
Hey, we had our first argument.
I will leave you with my final boss fight, which is not a bad boss fight, but is one of my all-time, probably my favorite, and it's from Chrono Trigger, and it's Lavos. And the reason why I say that is because Lavos is multiple boss fights, right? Like you can, for anybody that's never played the game, dear God, do yourself a favor, go get a fucking emulator, whatever. I don't care, and play it. That game is totally worth it. Um, but Lavos,
Black Box
for
Signal
people who
does
don't,
not endorse emulations, but do
we
whatever the
do
fuck you
not.
want.
We do not. But do whatever you want. Lavos, you can in that game, it's like about time travel essentially. Lavos, you can fight him at different periods in the game, and it changes the ending of the game. So I always thought that that was a super cool mechanic that, like, essentially at the very start of the game, you could try and fight him if you wanted to. So, and it changes his boss fight too, depending on when you fight him and stuff. So yeah, I always thought that was super cool. And then if you beat him, like at the very end of the game, like I guess what you would call like the real ending or whatever.
I love
He's
real
got like
endings.
he's got like three forms, and it's crazy. Like he takes on, like, in one of his forms, he takes on like the different traits and stuff from like previous bosses and stuff. And it's kind of like a mini boss rush and stuff. It's super cool. Definitely probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite boss fights in existence.
Nice, nice. Well, yeah.
But
I guess that's all I
so
have for boss fights. I was gonna bring up Final Fantasy VIII, but that was more just because of how that game ends. It has nothing to do with the boss fight. Like, is Squall alive? Is he not? Was he even alive in the first place? You know? Yeah, I love shit like that. Like break your brain.
Convol-
Yeah.
convoluted storyline.
Uh-huh. Yeah. But
You know, where we all don't know each other, but we really know each other because we all went to the same orphanage, and the lady we're trying to kill ran the orphanage.
or did we? Because did I exist in the first place? Was I just a
Yeah, no
fever dream?
shit.
Was I just a
Yeah,
timeline fart?
we all go to a school that grooms children to be military soldiers and attack other countries too.
Okay, that's like every
Yeah.
game, including Fire Emblem Engage. Like that segue there. So I've been playing more Fire Emblem Engage. I don't got much more to say about that, except I do have a gameplay a video up now, capture of me playing it. Yeah, last night, up on the Black Box YouTube channel. So if you want, check it out. That game is still, writing is over the top, kind of ridiculous, but the gameplay is really good. I wish this game and Three Houses could have a baby. That would be amazing. Um, but I don't have much really to say about that except go check out the playthrough if you're curious. Still,
Man, I will say this: I watched a little bit of it that you were streaming. For everybody else, graphically wise, I think it's pretty good. The fighting and stuff, obviously solid. I mean, it's Fire Emblem. I mean, do I really need to say more for anybody? Like, it's good. The storyline from a little bit I got, I would say I'm gonna agree with you. It's a little over the top much. Um, and I will say this, like I was talking to you earlier, the ring summon or whatever definitely was not what I pictured it in my mind being. I thought it was going to be something way different, and that would be my only critique on it. Is I kind of feel like the ring summon's kind of it's a little lackluster. Like, I mean, it's cool, but like, I don't know. I guess I had a way different, cooler thought in my head, so it was kind of a letdown for me. But
yeah, I should have showed that off a little bit more because I would always summon him and then engage right away, which kind of made them fuse. I know if you noticed that, like
Mhm.
they would take on their outfit and like like the main character Lear would like grow wings or whatever. But when you first summon them, you can just have them out and get like an
Okay.
attack bonus. So like you it would show two of you attacking. But I didn't really show that off because I was just trying to finish that battle.
Mm,
So uh yeah, though I'd agree that the story is very, very cheesy. And the graphics, I mean, it's a Switch game, so it
yeah.
runs like a Switch game would. And then I was still playing bits of Crisis Core. I'm almost done with that. I'm hoping I'll have it finished by next week. We'll have to see. I'll probably say that at least on 3 more episodes. I hope to have finished. But but the
The
reason why I haven't
never-ending
played,
chase backlog.
yep. But the reason why I didn't get to much of that this week is because the big game that I played, which I also have a video up on the Black Box YouTube channel now, is Season: A Letter to the Future. which if you've been following me on Twitter for the past couple of years before this and followed my live streams in the past, I've probably talked about this game the most out of any indie game that has been announced since 2020.
For
Um,
good reason.
yeah, it's so the synopsis of the game, to break it up a little bit better, is that you are going around chronicling the end of the world, taking pictures, you're recording sounds, things like that. And the opening of the game is super strong. And very melancholy, very I'm there's a word that I had for it today when I was thinking about it, and now it's left my brain.
It's
But
honestly, it's a vibe. That's
yeah,
what I would
it's
say.
evocative. It's evocative. Like
It's very well done.
yeah. So spoilers if you don't want to hear about that game, skip forward. But the very opening, this is just spoiling the very opening. You're like performing this ritual in your house with your mother, and you're dropping different items into this pot. And each time you do that, it's causing your mom to forget a memory. And it's because everybody in this world is suffering. What is it, from the death dream or the dead dream, something like that? I couldn't remember what it was.
What are they? It's the dream sickness or
Oh,
something
the
like
dream
that. I
sickness.
think is
Yeah.
what it was called.
So you're from we didn't get super far, but from all I know is you're leaving your village for the first time ever, coming down from your mountain and kind of going around and collecting a bunch of, like, your scrapbooking. It's the prettiest scrapbooking simulator I've ever played. um and it's good though, like the way that you can sketch, you can add quotes to your book, and you can customize the book yourself. So if I play the game and then Brandon plays the game, our scrapbooks might look entirely different. And like I said, you can add sounds, and uh so it's got a very interesting story. uh and so far the look, um it looks so good. Like, I mean, I've been saying that since I saw it, but now that I've gotten to play it, I'm playing it on PS5. The frame rate is solid. The cutscenes are in like a 24 to 30 frames. But I think that was just an artistic choice because there's a lot of games that, like, your cutscenes are in 30 and your gameplay's in 60. But the gameplay's in 60, and just getting out of that town last night and seeing the vistas for the first time and all the things that they made, it just looks so good. And I can't wait to play more of it. I'll probably play more of it on stream this week. That's what I plan on playing. So that's the big one. You watched a little bit of it though. What did you think?
Yeah. So for me, I did watch it because I was curious. I told you I was going to make a list of my complaints. Let me grab it real quick.
All right, I'll
over
be ready
here.
to shoot them all down. No.
No, honestly, like this is definitely more of a chase game. I don't know if it's something I would definitely play, but I'm definitely not knocking it. Like everything you said, like spot on. Like graphically wise, it's really good. I would say the art style is kind of like I don't really want to say like comic book, but it's kind of more like Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse style, I guess. Like
Similar, yeah.
It's not really like comic booky, but it's not,
It's
you
definitely
know what
cell
I mean?
shaded. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the one of the best looking cell shadings in a game though that I've seen.
Yes.
So
And
it looks
usually
really
I'm not
good.
a fan of cell shaded, but I really like this. And like Chase was saying, like it's mellow. Like it's cool. Like I'm sure what he was hearing was way better than what I was hearing watching him on stream, but like just the ambiance, the not even just the music, like just the ambiance, like the sounds in the background and
The
stuff. Like
wind,
it
those
was
chimes, like every little.
yes, you
Yep.
could hear the water trickling. You pass by that frog at one point. Like it's just everything's very well. Like you can tell they took time to meticulously like build this world and this environment and placing certain things at certain points that you may happen to just ride your bicycle by or walk by or whatever, and it's cool. The scrapbooking thing, that was definitely a joke I made, but it's
Yep,
super
definitely.
cool. I actually thought that was really neat. Like you have like essentially like Chase was saying, it's like a scrapbook kind of, and yeah, you can put like pictures in there, little quotes that your character quotes, audio clips, all sort of dude. And like he was saying,
Drawings,
if I
sketch.
played it, you played it, and he played it, and we compared all of our books, they probably would not look anything alike. It's super cool. I'm really interested to see some more of it because it's very cool. And honestly, like I was saying earlier, like there's like no combat or anything in it, and I don't even see a problem with that because it's cool. It's like a book, right? Like you're playing a book.
Mhm.
And I dig on that kind of stuff, to be honest with you.
And yeah, kind of like when I mentioned on stream too, this is an indie game. It's only $30. It's
Yeah,
small studio, and a lot of times, why I highlight indie games so much is like they have to have a strong narrative because they realize the gameplay isn't going to be as active as your AAA shooter action pack, yada yada yada. So they come in with the writing chops. Like I made the joke last night between the two streams that uh between the two, Season has better voice acting than Fire Emblem right now. Like the voice acting in Fire Emblem was very like it was kind of phoned in. You can kind of tell it was a little like cheesy and just like it wasn't as good as the last Fire Emblem, but the voice acting in Season is super good, super good.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm sure I have no idea what you're talking about with the voice acting in Fire Emblem. I'm sure we have no
No,
idea.
but even the comparison, like Three Houses, I feel like even had better voice acting. But Season has like
Yes.
the performances are
Yeah.
good. The narrative so far is super intriguing. Like they're not leaving you with much except for what you know, and you're just going to figure it out. Like the war that happened in the previous season that they talk
Yeah.
about. You don't know really
Yeah.
anything about that. You're just finding little like letters. Like when I was finding those letters that had, you know, a letter from a soldier writing home to his wife or a medic writing home and things like that. But
Yeah.
that happened the season before you were born. So
Mhm.
you're just getting these little snippets. It's kind of it didn't really offload a bunch to you. It just gave you what you needed to know and then dropped
Yeah.
you in this world and kind of is now leaving you to figure out everything else.
It leaves you like a little breadcrumb trail, right? Like
Mhm.
it doesn't give you a super big download. It gives you like a little crumb at a time. And that like watching you play, it made me feel like I want more. I want to know more. Like I
Right.
want to know what's going on with this. You know what I mean? So
Which almost makes the scrapbooking like a secondary mechanic for me. Like the scrapbooking is just a means to an end because as you do get to a new area and scrapbook, this meter will fill up. And then when that meter fills up, it'll kind of like drop the next story beat. But I found myself like I would stick a bunch of random stuff in the scrapbook just to fill that meter just to get the next story drop. And then maybe I'd go back and take a couple more pictures to make it look a little nicer. But for the most part, I was just getting to the point where I was like, I just want to fill this meter and figure out what's next and what they're gonna drop next.
oh, I got one thing else in there that I've noticed we forgot to mention. You found that bench, remember?
Mhm.
And it gave you the option to sit down, and she took two whole pages and sketched out this
It was like a broken down like bunch of like it looked
like
like
an
a
oil rig
cranes
or
and oil
something like
rigs or
that.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it gave you the option like, do you want to sit down and sketch this? And Chase did, and like it, dude, freaking, I thought that was super fucking cool.
And you just like kind of
Like,
sat there and like looked out at it and
mhm,
it almost felt like a tower in like what you would see in like a Ubisoft game or like in a Breath of the Wild, but it wasn't
mhm,
really at filling out your map. It was just something that you could do to kind of just slow down for a
mhm.
minute. And even though the game is kind of not really pushing
Chill.
you to go
It's very
fast,
chill.
but that even
Hmm.
slows it down even more to be like, just take a minute and look around and take it all in. Um, and another moment I felt like that was like when you left the village for the first time on your bike and you saw
Yes.
everything. It was just like, and it opened up, and I was like,
Hmm.
whoa, this is incredible. Like how good this looks. And sometimes I just want to slow down for a minute and take it all in instead of moving on to the next story beat. So I've got two parts kind of like smashing up against each other. I've got the story beat that I want to keep going, but also like I want to keep looking at this game because it's beautiful. Um
Hmm.
and super well done. But yeah, that's Season. It's out now. It's $30 on the PlayStation Store. It's on it's on Steam, I believe. It's on PC. So yeah. Yeah, I can't say enough. Early, this might be too early to say, and I don't even know if we're gonna do a game of the year thing when we get there. But this is already an early contender for game of the year for me, um, just for the writing alone. Yeah. So, do you got anything else, or is that pretty much what you got?
I think that pretty much covers it for my week, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then why don't we go ahead and we'll just get into the news here. A little bit of a slightly shorter news week, or maybe we just have smaller stories going on. first big one comes out of IGN that I'm sure a lot of you have already know who are in the know. But both or all three, Xbox, Nintendo, and Sony have announced that they will not be a part of E3 this year. Um, Sony hasn't really been there the last couple of years, even prior to the pandemic, and Nintendo has been kind of getting smaller and smaller. They stopped doing their big trade presentation and now just kind of submitted direct. But the one that surprises me the most is Microsoft backing out because they always put on a big stage show. But I mean, E3 has been, I don't know, what do you think about that? That's just interesting that to see the big three
Well,
pull out.
we had discussed that at work, and I thought it was kind of interesting that all three of them, like you said, are just kind of like pulled out. Like, like you said, Sony, I mean, has kind of been like, all right, whatever, we'll do our own thing. But yeah, seeing Nintendo and now eventually Microsoft pulling out, like that's an interesting dynamic change there. But I think a lot with this whole digital era now that we're kind of moving towards, like big events like that are kind of a relic of the past almost, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, and especially like we also discussed too that like um it's expensive to rent space
Oh
in,
yeah.
for E3 and put on a stage show and do all this. Like even before Sony backed out, like EA started hosting EA Play in a completely different location in LA. Because I think E3 is at the LA Convention Center, and then I think EA just does it at a different place. So they've backed out. They're finding that they can, save money by putting on their own event, or even more so, save money by just putting out a live stream in the case of like Nintendo,
Yeah.
instead of renting the booth space, renting the stage space, at an event that really has been on the downcline, especially since the ESA has kind of bungled it like the last few years. Like they leaked a bunch of journalists and developers information, and like like an accident just happened, which is never a good sign. So the ESA is trying to keep this thing alive because the ESA makes a lot of fucking money off of E3. But what do you do when you don't have the three big hardware manufacturers there? Like none of them.
Mm.
It's one thing to maybe not have one of them, but or maybe even two of them, but you don't even have one. One of the major hardware manufacturers. Like, what do you have? Like, even if the small indie studios show up, like that's what I always felt PAX was for. PAX was like the big showcase for all the smaller studios. And then like think about this too. Like Bethesda always had a stage show at E3, but now that they're owned by Xbox and Xbox ain't showing up, does that mean Bethesda's not going either? Probably not. Does that mean
Yeah.
Activision's going? Because Activision always had a huge showcase at the Xbox showcase. There's not going to be an Xbox showcase now, at least at E3. So does Activision not go now? I like
E3's got Google Stadia to show.
right, and and I'm starting to think like maybe this just becomes like a thing where it's like it's gonna be a fan event where you just come, they're slowly pivoting, and you just come and play games that are already out. But I mean, I don't see how that would entice like anybody to cover it as like an industry event like it used to be covered. Um,
Yeah, not at all.
like I don't see game journalists flocking to go there when you like I said, E3 was always the thing that you knew this is where the big guns come and show off what they're doing. And if you don't have even one of them,
Yeah, it's kind of worthless. Not even a point to do it.
yeah. Yeah. Next story is actually a conflicting two-part story. This is originally reported by Bloomberg that due to disappointing pre-order numbers, according to Bloomberg and Jason Schreier, Sony has reduced its output of PSVR 2s that are supposed to be coming out. I guess they were slashing their output from 2 million to 1 million units that they're going
Really?
to ship. And that's set to come out pretty soon. That's coming out February 22nd. That's supposed to come out. But then right afterwards, Sony came out, and this is via GameIndustry.biz. So this is directly from Sony. We have not cut PSVR 2 numbers, production numbers. PlayStation says it has not cut the PlayStation VR 2 production numbers following a report from Bloomberg. The firm told GameIndustry.biz that it is seeing enthusiasm for PlayStation fans for the upcoming launch which includes more than 30 titles such as Gran Turismo 7, Horizon, blah, 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 blah. The initial report said that Sony was making a significant reduction in its projections for PSVR VR2 and even warned supply partners that manufacturing could decrease as well. But Sony has since like countered this, which I mean, that doesn't surprise me because of course you're gonna want to go and be like, nope, everything's fine. Make sure you
Yeah,
pre-order.
yeah, yeah.
But
Don't worry about it. Yeah.
I I don't know this. We talked about how expensive it is. It's $550. I
Hmm.
mean, what do you think about the whole situation?
Well, that surprises me. And for one, like that's not a. I was gonna say that's not a good sign if that's true that you're already slashing your units before they've even come out. Like that is not good. Like if your projections are already that piss poor, like
Right. And they weren't even that
yeesh.
high to begin with. They said 2 million, and now they're cutting it to 1. I
Yeah,
mean,
that ooh, yikes.
and the other thing that keeps, jumping into my head, not to go into a super economic talk, but I mean, there's still, I mean, we're going to talk about it coming up that, like, we can kind of roll this in together actually, I guess. Sony did say on the PlayStation blog that PlayStation 5s this year are going to be easier to get, but they're,
Yeah.
which I mean, okay, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. The year has just started. I have actually myself started seeing them like 1 or 2 in stores, actually on the shelf. But, this is a console that's already $500. So you could say it's definitely a luxury item. Let's face it, people like me and you are early adopters. There's still people that don't have, a new console in either court, whether that's Xbox or Sony. Uh,
Mhm.
so it's already an expensive item. All this talk about inflation and people not having as much money. When the PS5 came out, everybody was at home because of the pandemic. So a lot more people were playing games. Now you got this whole back to normal narrative, but everybody's kind of back to work and everything. So not as many people are playing games. So you have a luxury item that you have to have another luxury item to have because this PlayStation VR does not work without the PS5. So you already have to have
Yep.
$500 for PS5. 550 for PSVR 2. I just, and like I said, with the way the economy is, I just don't see as many people jumping out to buy this thing.
Shelling out $1,000. Yeah,
Right.
I don't see that
Right.
either.
Right. I mean, and VR is already like that. Like it's really expensive to have to get in. So the fact that like the supply chain issues are just now being solved on the console side when you're putting this out like in less than a month. I don't know. I could see a lot more people buying PS5s right now as we get to, like, tax season and all that. But the PSVR 2, I can still see a lot of people waiting. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, being pretty hesitant on it. I could see that as well. Waiting for like an initial price drop or something like that for sure.
Well, and like
Because it,
oh no, go ahead.
I was gonna say because I mean, honestly, like there are lots of people that are like that too, right? Like not necessarily. I mean, right now, yes, with the with the PS5 and the new Xbox, like a lot of people didn't have them because they were just too hard to get. But I know a lot of people are still like that, where they wait a year or two to pick up the new generation console. One, because they want potential bugs and stuff fixed, and two, they're waiting for that initial price drop because they don't want to face it. They don't want to spend the $500 or whatever for it.
And also, I mean, I guess we can kind of spin into this story. So I'm gonna just jump around here, but we talked about, or I didn't mention this, but I heard initially that Sony everywhere else has actually raised the price of the PS5, except for in the United States, to about $550. And now Xbox is doing that. And this is according to Video Games Chronicle, at least in Japan, they're increasing the prices by roughly 5,000 yen, or by 5,000 yen, which is about $50 US. So they're actually raising the prices. So we're not getting that initial cut because
Yeah,
I feel
price
that
hike.
a lot of these consoles, I feel like they're all regretting releasing at $500. Like, as much as we would hate to say this, these boxes should have probably came out at $600 with the tech that's inside them. Um, and a lot of times these console manufacturers sell these consoles at a loss at hopes that they'll make it back up in software sales. But because of the pandemic and everything, the software sales have slowed. software output has slowed. That's why we're not getting as many big releases as we have been, because the pandemic threw a wrench in development and everything, slowed everything down, and we're just now starting to get caught back up to where, you know, the price is going up everywhere. You're not going to get that price cut anytime soon. So people, like I said, people are probably more likely to go out and get the console, but not get a PSVR 2, especially last week when we talked about how like the launch window lineup, not even the launch lineup, the launch window lineup, which is like within the first 3 or 4 months the console's out, doesn't look that great.
Yeah, well, lackluster for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff that's already out that you can play on PSVR 1, that you can play on the Oculus or the Meta Quest. You can play it on anywhere else. So
Yeah,
it's
Meta, bro.
yeah, I don't know.
I'm gonna still call it an Oculus.
Yeah, I hate Meta. Continuing with some Sony news. Sony is ending the PS Plus collection on May 9th. That was an email. That's not even a source. That was an email that me and you both got, and you were like,
Yes.
"Bro, did you see that they're ending that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I just opened the email." How we were talking like the other week about, you know, this is another feather in the cap for why Game Pass is fucking awesome, because they're I don't know. What do you think about that? I'll let you go first.
Dude, it's I feel like this is a real step back, for one. So for anybody that doesn't know, give everybody the benefit of the doubt. So you have PlayStation Plus that you pay for, and they give you access to what we're referring to as the PlayStation Collection. So they have like a bunch of different games that you can essentially play for free as long as you have PlayStation Plus. And this email that
this is the essential version, because you know they have those tiers now.
Yeah.
So this is
they have
the
tiers
base
now.
This is just the base version. You get your 2 games a month, your online play, and then or it's like, I think it's 4 games now, because they have a couple PS4 games and a couple PS5 games, something like that. It's like 2 to 4 games a month.
I think it's 3. I think they do 3.
And then they do that collection that has so many games in it. But go ahead.
And they completely just cut that out. So essentially now, if you're a baseline person like I am, I pay just the bronze tier, whatever the base price for it. All that I'm really getting now is I can play online with other people, and you get your 1 or 2, you know, releases a month that they give you for free that you can download. Which honestly really has been pretty lackluster in my opinion. I don't know about you, but there have been a couple like slam dunk ones. Like I remember I got 1 month, they had Hollow Knight and all of its DLC content for free download. I have it forever now. I got it for free. Amazing. I couldn't gush enough about that game. And that's one of those, again, like we're talking like an indie style game, and it's phenomenal. But I got that off of the monthly games thing. And I think I've downloaded maybe 2 other games out of the entire time, because there really just hasn't been that great of stuff, like in my opinion. And now you're getting rid of your whole extra back collection,
which is really funny, because when they launched the PS5 and launched this collection, they were saying they were gonna like add games to it. Since it's come out, they haven't added any games to it, and now they're getting rid of it. So you can go and say like the Xbox monthly releases aren't too much better, but they also have Game Pass, so they at least have that. And I'm almost wondering that if, like we kind of speculated, that I wonder if this is going to be used to get people to upgrade to those bigger tiers. I think it's extra and premium, or premium and extra. I don't know what. I don't know. I know that's what they're called, but I don't know which one's which. But
I want to say the highest tier is very similar to Game Pass, where you can basically like rent games through them. And I'm in agreement with you. I think they're trying to push people towards that, but I feel this is a real step back, and I feel like they're going to take a huge L for this pretty hard.
Yeah, considering that when those tiers launched, they weren't received very well, because the big thing that everybody was excited about was PlayStation 3, 2, and 1 games. The 1 and 2 offerings are pretty meh right now. Like there's some decent ones in there, but there's not much in there, and they haven't added to it. And then the PS3 offerings are in the cloud, because the PlayStation 3 was such a weird box with like the cell processor and everything, that they haven't actually figured out how to emulate PS3 games properly on a PS4 or PS5. So the PS3 ones you can get have to be streamed to you, and that always introduces like a little bit of latency and all that. So
Mhm.
I just I don't know. That seems funny to me, and like I I don't know. It's just why would you do that? Like uh we will we can still download those games until May 9th or add them to your library, and then they'll be in the library forever. So you can at least do that, which I'm probably going to go back and do, just add every single one to the library and not necessarily download them, but then at least I have them before they go away. So May 9th, everybody, go scoop them up if you have PS Plus while you can. And yeah, I don't know. I hope this means that maybe they'll beef up their premium tiers, their premium offerings. That would be great. But I don't know. I'm pretty skeptical right now because all they've done is taken away.
I know for sure I'm gonna go in there and at least scoop up Final Fantasy 15, the Royal Collection, for my library
Yeah.
because that game's amazing, and I would go back and play that again.
I would grab Persona 5, but it's not Persona 5 Royal, which is the really good one, like the with all the DLC. Like
Mhm.
that's what I want, but I don't know. Couple smaller stories here. This one I don't have a source for. This is kind of just all over the place, but Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the sequel to Fallen Order, is delayed to April 28th by just a month, which isn't too bad. Not too much more to report on that. Other than, just a small delay, no big deal. Which means it would put it out at the beginning of fiscal. Like they were trying to get it out at the end of the fiscal year, but they're just not going to hit that date.
Well,
So that's been delayed. No big deal.
one one extra month to finish smoothing out some stuff. I wouldn't be too mad at that. Now, if we get another delay after that, I would probably, if I was super looking forward to it, that would be kind of annoying.
Unless that game shit's broken as hell, and then it's like they should have delayed this another 6 or 7 months. But
Oh yeah,
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 it comes out. It's like, oh man, maybe they should have made. But the last one was pretty solid. So
yeah.
I don't know.
We're looking at you, CD Project Red.
I don't know if I'll pick this one up because like it was one of those games where like the gameplay was really fun, the story was all right. It was just like a typical Star Wars story, honestly. The first one it had some cool characters and had some great performances, but I felt like overall the story of Fallen Order was just good, not great.
Okay.
But
I'm gonna hard disagree with you on this. So, and not in a good way either. Like I'm gonna poop on this game. Like honestly, so it like I liked it, but like, dude, the main character is so
oh
bland,
Cal
bland
lightsaber.
as bland as fuck, dude.
Now I
Like,
know that's a joke. I know his name is Cal Kestis, but I kid you not. The first time I opened up the
dude,
menu, it says Cal and then lightsaber, and I was like, they did not just name this motherfucker Cal lightsaber, and so he's Cal lightsaber to me. But yeah,
that
no,
dude is
he sucks.
oh, bro. Like
He's so lame. I will agree with that. That I
vanilla,
don't disagree with you there. He's so lame.
vanilla as hell, bro. Like there is
He could
nothing
just
going
be.
on with
He might
that
as well
guy.
just be the walking camera wire guy with a lightsaber. Like that
Dude,
would be better, and that would be might be an improvement.
they could have just drawn a stick figure guy and gave him the lightsaber, and it probably would have had more character than his
Yeah.
character.
And the
Like,
sad thing is the actor that plays him is actually a pretty decent actor, but I think it's just the direction that they're giving him is like
but other than that, I mean, the storyline was okay in those games. The coolest thing in that, honestly, is when you're in that like ice cave or whatever, and you make your lightsaber or whatever. That to me was the coolest part. And the ending. I'm not going to spoil the ending for anybody, but
I can spoil
the
the ending.
ending.
It's long enough. It's been long enough.
Okay, well, when you're like fucking run away from Darth Vader, I thought that shit was pretty badass. Like, you can try and fight him and you will die. Like,
Yeah, you
the
can't beat
game
him.
literally,
Yeah.
the game literally is designed so that you can't beat him, but it like gives you that like sense of dread running from him. But yeah, so I'm not super hyped for the sequel to it unless they, I don't know, throw some hot sauce on the main character. Because I mean,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. Woof. Definitely. Um,
yes.
but next story I have here is a little bit of a bummer for me because I was playing this game. I tested this game. Rumbleverse is shutting down February 28th. This is Iron Galaxy's um battle royale that was wrestling themed. It was a melee focused battle royale, so you would be fighting in a city, and you could instead of picking up weapons, you were picking up like stamina boosters and moves. So like you could pick up an, oh, now I can do a spear, now I can do a super kick, now I can do a German suplex, depending on what button you hit. And it had like a very rock paper scissories type thing, like your melees break grapples, your grapples break like blocks, and your dodge. Like it was kind of like that, and it was really cool. What was really fucking cool is like you could just be fighting with some dude on, you know, a skyscraper, and you could spear him off the fucking skyscraper and just fall like super far, because it was, like I said, it was like a battle royale, but you're just falling really far and you just land on a car and bounce off it. Or like the most satisfying thing was to drop an elbow on somebody from a skyscraper and actually land on them because you're falling forever, and then you just land on them. That was cool. But that's kind of a bummer, because that was like the one battle royale since like the battle royale craze blew up that like was doing something different, and I felt like was doing it well. But this just came right from Rumbleverse's website that they're going to be shutting it down. Which it's a bummer. I've always liked Iron Galaxy Studios. They were the ones that were doing the Killer Instinct reboot and all that. So that's kind of a bummer, because like I said, it was like the one that was doing something different, and it was good. It was well made. Like it yes, it got to the point to where people got really fucking good at the game really fast, and you couldn't just like any battle royale or any online game, that if you're not in there all the time, you're not gonna like beat everybody, because you don't have that muscle memory. But that one was just so cool, because like I said, like just like, or and then you could also like rip off stop signs out of the ground and use that as a weapon, and like chairs and like that flying all over the place. It was so
Trash
cool,
can.
and it had like a very like cartoony art style, so it wasn't too serious. And the city of it was called Grappital City, like capital
Nice.
city, and the ring in it was a wrestling was as it closes, when you're outside of it, instead of losing health, you'd start getting counted out like in a wrestling match. So you had 10 seconds to get back in, and then when you get knocked out of it again, let's say you lost 4 seconds, you get knocked out again, and now you're at 6 seconds. So it's like you're getting counted out instead, and it was just so cool. You got fired out of it, like instead of dropping out of a plane, you got shot out of a cannon, because wrestling's origin started in carnivals. So like just getting shot out of a cannon into Grappital City seems just hilarious and perfect. But yeah, kind of a bummer, man, because that was a cool game. I played a lot of it, and I guess I should have fucking played more of it, because they're shutting it down. But yeah, I don't know what you think about that, but because I know you don't really play it too much, but
Honestly, unpopular opinion, I know, but I fucking hate battle royales.
for
I
the
think
most part,
they
I
are
do too. Like
I think they are the fucking new wave cancer of the gaming society world. Like, I don't even hate to say it. Like, I'm gonna be brutally honest. Like, they are. I can't fucking stand them.
I've liked
Like,
PUBG, and then I've liked this one the most. Like those are the only
honestly,
two.
so I played Fortnite for a while there, but it's just that and I'm happy my son doesn't like that stuff either. To be honest with you, like he's
Yeah,
just
Violet hates every time I bring up Fortnite. She hates it. Like I played
Yeah,
it
my
once. I played it once, got a victory royale my first game, and was like, "Whoop, time to quit while I'm on top." So
my son will straight tell people Fortnite's for babies.
yeah,
So
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah,
And I know Warzone
yeah,
is super popular, but and they're really popular. That's the problem, is they're super popular, so people are trying to find their way of making them.
I played Warzone, and honestly, I didn't even really play like the battle royale version of it. Mostly, what I played was the I forget what the fucking
Is it
game
the
mode's
Rebirth
called.
ones? Like
No,
where
not Rebirth. It's the one where you collect money. Like, so basically, you can kill other players for money, or
I
you
think I
can
know what
just
you're talking about. I
collect
just can't remember the
cash
game
around
type.
there. And so, yeah, at the end of the match, whoever has the most amount of money for your team wins or whatever. And so it's like unlimited respawns, because you're just collecting money. And I like that better than the actual battle royale shit. Like, and it's becoming a thing where it's just clone after clone, right?
Right.
Like,
There was
oh,
one other
that's
battle royale that was doing something cool, and I cannot remember. Oh, Knockout City. It was a dodgeball one where you had to throw a dodgeball. So that one was kind of interesting. But yeah, for the most part, it's been kind of meh. And honestly, like I don't play Call of Duty that much anymore. But if I were to go back and play Call of Duty, I would just want to play the regular traditional team deathmatch multiplayer, like stuff like that. I would want to play that stuff. I don't want to play the battle royale. Like that just
or
doesn't interest me.
zombies. Honestly, zombies was the best thing Call of Duty ever came out with. I
Eh,
love playing zombies.
I wasn't that big of a fan of zombies, but I I won't argue that that was probably better than playing a battle royale. Now, I hear that new DMZ from the Modern Warfare 2 um version of Warzone is pretty fun, because you like drop in, you complete some objectives, and I guess there's AI on the map too, and then you can just kind of bounce out, and like the longer you stay in, like the more like it. Oh, that's what it is. It plays like Tarkov. like Escape from Tarkov.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's what I was trying to think of. I was like, what game is it a lot like? It plays like that, to where like you can like lose items, or like whatever you leave with, that's what you get. So that might be interesting. I've considered checking that out. But I'd have to clear some space on my hard drive because the Call of Duty download's like fucking ridiculously huge. So,
Oh my god.
but yeah, other than that, like there really hasn't, like, Fortnite was pretty boring. Vanilla Warzone
Good
was
news.
pretty meh.
Good news is
Not an Apex guy.
the Call of Duty download's huge, but it comes with a free bag of Doritos and a Mountain Dew.
Right. Next story here. This one comes from GameIndustry.biz as well. 95 employees will be laid off, or were laid off. There's no news from 343. No new story content for Halo Infinite, and 343 will only be working on multiplayer going forward, and is also moving to Unreal Engine. And these are some reports that are also coming out of Bloomberg, basically saying the same thing. Internal documents by Bloomberg. Contractors were only given a few days warning before the end of their contract. The publication added, while dozens of veterans were also let go. So yeah, that was like on top of like the 10,000 that were also laid off at Microsoft as a whole. Unreal is also used to prototype Halo titles. The publication added, concerning Halo Infinite, the studio reportedly isn't working on new content, as many of its developers were among those laid off. So kind of what we speculated last week. I think this means that, outside studios are going to start working on Halo. What do you think?
Well,
Well, also moving from Slipspace to Unreal Engine, that could change the flow of your gameplay too. I mean,
yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I mean, 98, what is that? That's a rookie number, dude. Come on,
95,
man.
yeah.
95, bump that up, man. If you're gonna lay people off, really lay people off. Do a
Really,
couple
bro.
thousand. Come on, man.
Is there even 1,000 people that
um,
work for 343?
probably not. Um, honestly, not surprised again. More layoffs. I mean, I predict probably this is gonna be a tumble effect. You're gonna see a lot of layoffs. It's gonna go domino from there. Them switching engines, like you said, that could be a huge change in the gameplay and everything. So kind of interested to see that. But I mean, it sounds like, like they said, we're just focusing on multiplayer, which honestly, I don't even really play much multiplayer anymore, anyways.
Right. Neither of
So
us do. Yeah. Yeah. And, all joking aside, I hope the 95 employees, find work, because it's hard to find work in the games industry. So,
oh yeah,
and this happens
definitely.
all the time. People get let go in this industry without warning, and it sucks. I mean, it sucks to go to show up for work and then be like, clean out your desk. Like, not even at 2
Yeah,
weeks or nothing. Like,
that's the big BS right there. Like I've actually had that happen to me at a job I worked at, where literally I
me
showed
too.
up to work and everybody else goes to work and your boss is just like, yeah, we need to have a chat. Like, hey, we're shit canning you for no reason. Like, oh, that's cool. Like, so yeah, that's a lot of BS, and that would really piss me off. And that's an awful thing to happen to those people, honestly.
Yeah. So hopefully they can find some new work and some better
Bounce
work, and
bounce back, yeah.
yeah, and land on their feet. This one is a smaller story. This was based off of an ad that just came out. Sony's new ad was kind of possibly hinting at a new Uncharted game. I don't have the source for this, but this was just based on like a teaser that I saw, and then everyone was like, "Hey, that looks like Uncharted."
Really?
Um, I was never the biggest Uncharted fan, but it looks like it might star his daughter, but like because it looked like it was a female.
You're missing out. Uncharted was a great series.
My problem was I played The Last of Us first, which is also made by Naughty Dog. So I played that first and then went back and played Uncharted. And if you play it in that reverse order, it's if you played Uncharted first, you can kind of see the builds towards Last of Us, and then if you go the other way with it, it's like, oh, this kind of plays worse. But I don't know. What do you? I'm not that excited about new Uncharted. But what do you think about the possibilities of a new Uncharted? Would you be ready to go back, or even
Um,
if you played as a new protagonist? I mean,
uh, it'd be interesting to see how they would go with the story, honestly. Me personally, I enjoyed the Uncharted games. But then again, and I'm probably gonna get slayed for this, but I was a huge Tomb Raider fan growing up, and Uncharted to me was essentially like, dude, it's like male version of Lara Croft, right? Only like Lara Croft was more like badass bitch, right? where like Nathan Drake's more like, yo, I'm like the suave kind of, you know what I mean? Like he gave me that
Right.
more of like the suave vibes, and like that
But also was a
that was
mass
what,
murderer apparently because he kills so many people in those games.
well, yeah. Well, I mean, in the reboots of Tomb Raider, it's not any
Oh, she's not any
less
better.
than
I was
that.
gonna say.
She murders a lot of people in those too. So, but I thoroughly enjoyed that series. So it'd be interesting to see. You know.
Kind of piggybacking on that, it's kind of funny you bring up Tomb Raider. Amazon, this is according to Games Radar. Amazon has reportedly bought the rights to the Tomb Raider franchise for
Hmm.
$600 million, which is going to include the next game, TV shows, movies, and just different merchandise. So yeah, Amazon's scooping up that IP to use it for everything. I don't know. What do you think about that? That's $600 million to get the licensing rights for that.
So when I read that, I got kind of geeked out a little bit. Honestly, I don't know if geek's really the term, but I was kind of interested to see that because I've been a huge Tomb Raider fan. Always loved Tomb Raider since Tomb Raider on the friggin' PlayStation, the original PlayStation. Um, so kind of interested in that because I really liked the new Tomb Raiders. Now, some of them are just not good, and some of them are great. Like the first when they first rebooted it, I absolutely loved that game because I compared it a lot to Last of Us. Right,
Right.
it was just really gritty, and like Lara at the beginning of the game is not Lara at the end of the game. Same with the characters from Last of Us, where they're at the start of the game, end of the game, completely different people. You see this huge growth metamorphosis over it. And then you got like there was like Rise of the Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb
I liked the
Raider,
first two. The
and
third one was
I,
kind of
I
where it
can't
fizzled
remember
out for
which
me.
one's which, but one of them was not very good. It was kind of
I
lackluster.
felt like it was the third
I
one. I think
have
it was Shadow.
it might have been. I have them all on my games library digitally, but yeah, one of them was just kind of eh. So it'd be interesting to see where they would go if they're gonna reboot the games again. I don't know.
What I find interesting is that Square was the one that owned them originally. Square Enix was the one publishing them originally. Crystal Dynamics was the developer. And after
Mhm.
Shadow, they sold Tomb Raider to the Embracer Group for 300 million and then turned around and sold it to Amazon for 600 million. So I would say Embracer definitely made out well on that transaction, considering they paid, less than they paid
Doubled
half for,
up,
yeah,
yeah.
they doubled up on that. So I'd say Embracer made out like a killing like that. But yeah, that I just found that little part kind of interesting, that it's surprised because it wasn't that long ago that Embracer bought the rights to Tomb Raider from Square Enix. I want to say it's only
Yeah.
been like about a year or so. So maybe
Now,
two.
movie wise, I'd be interested in because what did we get? We got two movies, right? We had Tomb Raider and then Cradle of Life, right? Something like that.
I don't like
With
to believe that there was any Tomb Raider movies.
Angelina Jolie. Not really the greatest movies out there. I can very well say that. I will watch them. But they're not very the greatest. So seeing them maybe reboot the movies and do a good actress choice would be sweet to see. And even like a TV show. I mean, you see what HBO is doing with The Last of Us. Like if Amazon Prime could put out a quality Tomb Raider show along what HBO is doing with Last of Us, bro, I'd be pumped for that any day of the week.
My problem with that is because of like the content. It's my problem with Uncharted 2 is we have Indiana Jones already. And like Indiana Jones is kind of that. Like it's that archaeological, like, and you get to kill Nazis in Indiana Jones, which is always a plus. But um
Okay. So I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan. Always have been. I watched them all with my dad. Um, we are just gonna forget Temple of Doom even exists because that is like the worst one of them all. But I
really worse
mean,
than the Crystal Skull, huh?
yeah,
If
probably.
wounds could show. I saw
Possibly. I
Crystal
mean,
Skull in theaters, and that movie was fucking trash. The one with Shia LaBeouf in it. Oh my god, as
it,
his son. Ooh.
That's mm, yeah.
I'm just saying I'd watch Temple of Doom any day over Crystal Skull. Just saying.
Yeah. Yo, Kalima.
Kalima. Um,
Oh God. Oh, Jesus. That movie's not good.
not to mention that movie's a little racist. Let's be real. The movie's
Oh,
with how they
man.
portrayed those people. I'm like, this is a little racist.
Oh man, that movie is so not good. Ark is clearly the best one, and
Ark is
then
hilarious.
the other one
Last
there
Crusade.
with Last Crusade,
Mhm.
probably the best too. Yeah, I mean, I get that. Yeah, we have like Indiana Jones or whatever, but like Indiana Jones, as much as I love it, I mean, it's kind of dated, right? You know, so kind of seeing a new age kind of, um, it, but it's different though, because like Indiana Jones is not really like a Tomb Raider, though. You know what I mean? Like his
He's an
whole thing is like
archaeologist.
his whole thing is like I'm going to these things and doing these to stop the Nazis. Where like
Well, and
Nate
preserve
Drake's
history.
Nate Drake's like, I'm doing this for me, dog.
True. Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
Um, next little story here. This we don't really got to comment too much on this. This just kind of popped up in the releases because there hasn't been anything said about it until now. Sony's MLB The Show 23 is coming out on March 28th. It is going to be on PlayStation. It's going to be day one on Game Pass. And don't got much more to say about that. I'm not a big baseball guy. I don't think you're really a big baseball guy or sports game guy in general. But
Surprisingly, I am not a big sports guy, but I do know from my brother. For people that don't know, I'm the youngest of three boys. So my one brother, the middle child, plays has played a decent amount of sports games, and I have watched him play some of the baseball games. And out of the sports games, I would say the MLB games are fucking solid.
oh, the show's
actually.
a huge seller, like from Sony first party. That like a lot of people don't think
Yeah,
that's a Sony first party game because it's on Xbox, but that's like that makes them a good chunk of money.
yeah, it's a great game series, I think. So that's cool for people that are into that kind of stuff. Like, definitely awesome for them. You know, I'm not a huge sports games person, but like I said, I have played a couple of the baseball games, and I've definitely watched my brother play them, and they're no pun intended, but you know they smack it out of the park every year. So
Right.
that they put one out. So
Yeah, like I said, not a lot of people think of that as a Sony joint because it's not like the typical, big
mhm.
first party release like a God of War or whatnot, but that's one of their babies. So next story here. Um this comes reporting from Insider Gaming. I think John might be happy about this, our buddy John. Looks like kind of like we were talking that like Ubisoft hasn't had much recently. Well, sources say that Far Cry 7 and a Far Cry multiplayer are in development at Ubisoft. Details of both games are still slim, but it's understood that the titles were intended to be one game at one point, but have been separated into two separate projects. The game is believed to be known as Project Talisker, something like that, under the helm of Day Hay until both games became their own separate entities after the departure of to Blizzard Entertainment. Huh. Okay. I don't know why they're bringing up Blizzard in this. Far Cry 7 is now referred to as Project Blackbird, whereas the multiplayer experience is known as Project Maverick. Both projects are believed to have heavy involvement from Ubisoft Montreal. Not too much more on that, except I really hope that they better do fucking something with Far Cry 7 because I have not liked a Far Cry since, and I say liked, not loved. I have not liked a Far Cry since 4. I'd say my favorite one was still probably 2 or 3. 3 was really
Snooze,
good. 2 is really, really good. Um,
snooze, snooze.
4 was the last one that had any.
One is the only one that exists.
Oh my, okay. But I want malaria, man. Like, and wasn't that in 2?
Oh man,
But yeah,
yeah,
so
that's
and then like Far Cry Primal was a good idea, but not that great. Far
mm,
Cry 5 had the potential to be something great, but because they didn't really want to say much with their story, it was garbage. Far Cry 6, garbage. Uh, yeah, I don't really know. What do you think about the prospects of a new Far Cry?
well. I'm with you. Hopefully, I mean, I wish them the best. Hopefully, they put something out decent. I mean, that series has really gone downhill. I really loved the first one, and I think I played part of two, and that was pretty decent. I always joke, and I always tell Chase or our friend John when they bring up Far Cry that the only one that exists is the first one. Just because like they progressively have gotten worse. Like it's just
The
I
writing's
don't know.
gotten
Like
worse.
yeah, I think that's what the
The
big thing is.
villains
Is
have been
the
good.
writing is just not
Um,
good.
and I felt like Far Cry 6 had potential because that was the one that was set in like a Cuban, or was it someplace in the Caribbean? It was like made up, but that had potential. But every time it's just like the writing just never hits. And that's like one thing you want in those games. And then what would a multiplayer Far Cry be? Would it just be like raids or something? Like what? How would that? I mean, I guess that could be potentially
Yeah, I'm
interesting,
not
but
sure how that would work, to be honest with you.
would it be like co-op versions of what you're already doing, or I don't.
Possibly, or maybe like kind of like Dead Island or something like that. You know what I mean? Where you're fighting like waves or something like that.
God,
I
Dead
guess.
Island. Nobody's fucking talking about Dead Island anymore. That's fine.
Hey, bro, I loved Dead Island. Get off my case. That game was sick.
Just
But
funny.
I'm just thinking like that style of game, like that style of multiplayer, possibly. But I don't know.
Yeah. And then the next little story I have here is it's technically a rumor. This is from mynintendosnews.com. And it's from Canada. Speculation grows for a direct as soon as Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and Advanced Wars 1 and 2 showed up in the Canadian eShop. So a lot of people are thinking that there might be a Nintendo Direct coming around. I'm not so excited for, I mean, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, yeah, cool, whatever. But Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp is the title, which has long been rumored to be in development or it has been in development by Way Forward, could be scheduled for a release date soon, but was pushed back due to the Ukraine invasion. Kind of didn't want to be insensitive about it, and also they were still working on it. I don't know. That has me really excited just because we haven't got like we've been getting Fire Emblem a lot, and the other genre that they always had was Advance Wars of that style. So the fact that we haven't got one in a long time has me really excited. I don't know. What do you think about the possibility of a new Advance Wars,
Advance Wars has always been pretty
or even a
cool.
reboot? I should say, yeah.
I always thought they were pretty cool games. I played a couple of them before. I played, I think, the first one a while back, and I enjoyed it. I think they're cool games. So getting like a reboot or something would be awesome. Also, that was one of my cats. I apologize to you guys, but they got a mind of their own sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
the cool game series.
Yeah. So, and then I guess because they popped up at the eShop, we think that we might get a direct soon. Like a Nintendo
Yeah,
Direct showing that off. I mean, if it's already
that'd be
showing up.
cool.
Last two stories here are pretty small. The Crew Motorfest gets announced. That's right, people. The Crew is not dead. Speaking of Ubisoft news, The Crew is not dead. Their shitty racing game, because The Crew was bad and The Crew 2 was bad. They had a lot of really good ideas, but it wasn't that great. It's kind of like their answer to Forza. But I thought that game was dead, but apparently a new one got announced. So I only have this in there to say, you know what? Don't give up on your dreams, kids. Somehow The Crew is still getting made. Like, I mean, I doubt you really have anything to say about. Do you have anything to say about that? I didn't think you really
No,
would.
I don't. I don't even think I ever even played any of them, to be honest with you.
They went free to play so fast. Like I remember that was like the big thing getting like shown off when the PS4 got announced was like The Crew, because Gran Turismo was still getting delayed, and it like released, and then within a month it was like games with gold. Like it like it went like straight to
Wow!
free, and then The Crew 2 came out, and I think the same thing happened. But
Yikes!
so I don't know. I mean, I don't know much more than that. There's a website. This is directly from Ubisoft's website. That this has been announced. And it's going to take place in Hawaii. That's kind of cool. That's an interesting place to take a racing game to. But yeah, it says its release date is sometime this year. That's it. That's all we got. And then the last story, and this is just a really small story, kind of on a somber note. The actress who voiced Tess in The Last of Us, Annie Wershing, I think is how you say her name, has passed away at 45. So kind of a bummer. The voice actress who played Tess. Shout outs to the family and everything in this time. She was a pretty pivotal character in the beginning of that
Yes.
game, and
Yeah.
you know, the performances in that game as a whole were done really well. So
Mhm.
it's kind of a bummer that, with the popularity of the show now, you know, that she won't be around to kind of see that.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's kind of all I have for this week. It was kind of a little bit of a shorter week this week. What
Mhm.
do you got going on next week? Like, you said you're gonna probably stream some stuff.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna stream more Tactics Ogre because like I just want to play more now. Like I love it. I'm hooked. I want to play it. I want to see more of the story. I want to see where it goes. Um, because it. So the company that made Tactics Ogre they did such a good job making Tactics Ogre that Square hired them to make Final Fantasy Tactics, and Tactics' storyline goes from like this kind of like, oh, political unrest, machinations, to all of a sudden we're fighting some giant undead angel thing in the middle of fucking nowhere. You know what I mean? So I'm curious to see if Tactics Ogre's storyline ends up like that, where it just goes balls against the walls doing
Right.
something ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm sure it probably does. So yeah, I want to see more of that. So that's the plan. Probably at least 1 or 2 days of streaming that.
You gonna try to record it so you can throw it up on the channel?
Yeah,
Possibly.
I'm gonna try and see if I can at least record a little bit and throw it up on the channel. This week they definitely won't be long streams, like probably maybe an hour most. Cause
Yeah,
it's
mine
my
were
week
kind of
with-
short this week, so
Mhm. Yeah,
since you're with the
definitely.
kids. So, I'm not doing much this week. I'm gonna probably try to stream more of Season just because that game intrigues the hell out of me. I think my audience dug it, and I kind of streamed it late last time. So be on the lookout on my personal channel, and I'll be throwing that up on the Black Box channel probably as well, possibly. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Other than that, I think I'm just going to continue chipping at my games that I have off stream, which is Fire Emblem and Crisis Core. I'm hoping to have Crisis Core finished by the next episode. I'm not making promises, but I'm hoping. That's what I'm pushing for. But yeah, I guess we will see you all next week. And as always, stay safe, comrades.